It was really awesome. There was Millennium Falcon and I was in, but you weren't Jabba because you were killed by Leia in the 6th movie. And really the 3rd movie. Face it. I shot first and now I'm gone, so I'm gonna be Jabba. This is how Jabba sings the song. The Star Wars la 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 la. I'm big and fat, and I had a little guy translate for me. Really stupid little guy, and I was only at #rude.
People of Earth, you're listening to The Rack Show on foxv.com with Lucas and Conrad. I suggest you don't turn the dial, because I know where to find you.
Hello everybody, welcome to Season 3, Episode 5 of The Rack Show. I'm Conrad.
I'm Lucas.
And we are at I3 Detroit, the premier hackerspace.
Yeah, cool stuff. We've been here before. We were here last episode of the Vox, I believe. Oh, no. Last week we had Midwest Media Expo.
We did, and it was awesome.
And that was cool, but the episode previous we did the Vox here.
Which unfortunately I couldn't be at. I had stuff to do, and I missed out on Zombie Conversation where nobody picked me for their team.
Well, what are you used for?
I said this, all right? I'm the only one that doesn't need eyeglasses to see, pretty much. I'm one of the most physically fit, and I can run a long distance without getting hurt, all right? I could do that. And stop it, Amy. Amy's making crying faces at me.
He was really upset.
Nobody picked me, man!
Because nobody picked him for their zombie team.
I'm doing my own zombie team with blackjack and hookers. So hot. That's happening.
That's not going to happen.
Well, it's because the zombie apocalypse isn't going to happen. So you're right. It's not going to happen.
Well,
all I'm saying
in case of emergency, don't call Conrad. That's all I'm saying.
Whatever. How was your week?
It was good. I actually had a really good week. Houston left. What else did happen?
You gonna tell everyone who Houston is?
So if you watched an episode of the Vox that we did previously on dating, I finally went out with Houston. And Houston is...
Subtitled Lucas in Love.
No, it wasn't subtitled that.
I subtitled it.
I deleted it.
Yeah, well, still.
But yeah, no, it was cool. She came up to the Midwest Media Expo, so a lot of people got to meet her. Fans got to come say hi. Yeah. I don't think they realized it was Houston, because we don't call her by anything else, I don't think, do we?
Nope. We've been careful not to do that.
But yeah, no, it was cool. What else have we done? We've been recovering from Midwest. Anytime we do a convention, it's exhausting.
It always takes about a week for us to get back in sync, back in step.
Because essentially we do a month of shows in 2 days, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right? And we release that content slowly over the month. But
I think by the time you see this, everything will have been released for about 5 days or so.
Right.
So it's kind of old news to you guys. But for us, in the now... which
it's condensed.
Yes, condensed.
We don't mind doing it. It's a lot of fun. We'd love to see you at conventions. You can always come out and see how we film a show. All of our audiences this time were live audiences.
Yeah, and they were all really great.
They got to see all the background bickering that our crew gets to do right before a show.
Because we're a family, and that's what we do.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But no, it was Midwest was really fun. Mm-hmm. You guys were there more than I was, but it was fun.
Well, you chose to take yourself out of that equation because you and Houston were having a lovely day together.
I've never left a convention.
Well, a convention was happening.
Yeah, so this is my first time. You have.
Yeah, well, I work. I have to, yeah.
You've left for work, but yeah, it was nice to see everybody just exist without me.
Lucas was like worried that we were all gonna forget how to breathe or something. I don't know. He kept calling in. He kept calling in and checking, and be like, "Do you need me to come back?" And I'm like, "No, we're fine." He called back a little while later and be like, "Do you need me for anything?" Like, "No, we're good." And finally, he's like, "Do you need me to come back? I want to hang out with her more." And I'm like, "It's fine, dude. Go have fun. We're playing Zombicide."
They didn't burn anything down. I was proud.
We managed to not burn stuff down all the time without Lucas.
Pretty cool. I don't know when. This is the first time you guys have been without me. Right? That and Steamtopia last year.
If you say so.
But Steamtopia sort of got burned down.
It didn't get burned down.
Sort of.
Wrong conversation.
We didn't have
Speaking of Steamtopia and Steam Steampunk and Steamworks and all that stuff, our acclaimed guest here. Mike Orlando, by the way. Hello, sir. Sorry, you've been very patient, which I warned you about, that we would do a little spiel before we got to you. Right. But I always feel like we do it for just a smidge too long, and the guest is kind of like, all right, great. Now I know that there's someone named Houston. That's awesome. But how are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Now, we met you last year. Yeah? Or Lucas met you last year. We met at Steamtopia, up in the Aether.
Up in the Aether?
Where did we meet? I got your card from somewhere.
One of those. Yeah, it was somewhere. I haven't been to the last couple.
Did you go to DECCON?
No.
DECCON was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It would have to be Steamtopia or up in the Aether then.
Now, do we want to talk about the steampunk stuff first, or would you want to talk about the visual effects stuff first?
Well, I think we should talk about visual effects first, because
we're already naturally talking about it.
Like, this is what everybody would know. Yeah. First off. So you have 33 film credits to your name for visual effects?
Yeah, working at 33 Motion Pictures.
And now we have, and I was just looking over the small list that we have here, and I was like, oh, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoy like everything you've ever done. Tell us some of the more prominent works for the people.
Well, let's see. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. That was one of the bigger projects. Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, of course, Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Mummy Returns. I mean, a lot of the big ones were some of the great ones that I had fun with as well. And
Watchman.
Watchman was an interesting show.
Why was it interesting?
Well, for me, I'd never watched the comic books or anything. So when I was working on the show, I'm like, what is all this about? I mean, I figure, okay, this is great. I like this kind of stuff. I can roll with it.
I watched the Watchmen the first time, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get why everybody's...
I had a hard time following it.
But he says it's like the best thing ever made.
I really enjoy what they did. They took a different direction with the ending than they did in the comic book, and they left some things out. But I think that they did a phenomenal job. There are people who either love the movie or hate the movie, it feels like. I thought it was phenomenally done. The opening alone is worth seeing it. It's great.
There was a lot of great things to it. My work primarily was Rorschach Space.
Amazing.
Replacing...
You did the Rorschach face?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's pretty difficult because you're, when you're integrating 3D with live action, there's a lot of logistics, from both from a location standpoint and obviously once you get into post.
Yeah.
Same thing with all the Star Wars stuff and Pirates of the Caribbean. And for the Watchmen, for some reason, since I was sort of an outside vendor, I didn't have some of the things I'm used to getting, so the show was a little bit nightmarish. And
really,
yeah.
Did he have to wear a mask with reference points on it so you could map it to his face?
Yeah, he had sort of like a pullover sock type thing.
Yeah,
and they had some shapes in there, I guess, for the ears, and then he had an eye slit that he could look through. And there were just some green dots in there, which ended up being pretty much useless.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't always work out. So I had to pretty much. Going in with actual geometry of his face, with his, sort of skin mask on or whatever. And a lot of times you end up, going frame by frame to try and track some of this stuff in. And of course, just animating the ink blot texture thing.
That is insane. Well, if you said you had problems, we couldn't tell. I've watched Watchmen numerous times and it's beautifully done. Rorschach's mask is
there's
phenomenal.
a lot of suffering on that. Actually, a lot of the shows, it all has to be perfect. I mean, you're once production gets under, on its own steam, we're rolling. Your day pretty much starts in the movie theater. We're all, exhausted because you're doing 16-hour days towards the end.
Yeah.
And, we go frame by frame on everything. The whole crew's there, get a laser pointer and fix this, change this. And so it is hypercritical that, everything, locks together. Otherwise, the illusion's blown. And
we have some guys on our crew. I know Will is in the beginning stages of learning.
Yeah, the larva stages.
The larva stages of compositing. He showed us a little ditty that he did with some of our video.
Okay.
And then he voiced over me and Conrad and
fun.
And he pointed and moved.
It's lovingly titled The Wax Show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I know our guys are getting interested in that.
Compositing is that's the finishing step.
Yeah.
It's like all great visual effects shots, all great 3D always ends, with the compositor.
So now, you said that you were prominently responsible for Rorschach's mask in The Watchmen, and I'm seeing that you have other credits here, Hunger Games, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Like, were there specific things you did for those movies as well, or was it more of a broad stroke? Like how does visual effects work? Does somebody get assigned a certain task and that's what they stay on the entire movie?
It really depends on what studio you're at. The smaller studios, they bring on, more generalist where, you can animate, you can, build 3D models and, lighting and all that. When you start getting, up into like ILM and Disney and places like that, while all these general skills are very important, you also do a very specific thing. Depending on the studio and what show you're on, what you're doing, like in Dinosaur at Disney, I was in their development department. There was 12 of us, and I think there was only over 2,200 shots in that whole movie. And, us 12, we touched every single shot. That show was a little interesting because they were shooting background live action plays, like on, Venezuela and, wherever, Hawaii and stuff. And pre-production was like years before the movie came out. And so we had all this data of where they wanted to shoot. We had, landscape, marks, and we also had a special Dino Cam rig on location for certain things.
Oh, what?
Dino Cam
they
rig?
call it Dino Cam rig.
What is it?
It was just these big dynamic shots and everything. And so when we were doing things and they said, this is Dino Cam shot, we would have to pull up a 3D version of the Dino Cam rig, and we'd actually have to set up and animate our shot through this. And so the real gist of that part of the process was we get the storyboard, we get the characters, we would start off blocking animation, we'd pick our own camera lenses. I worked with Eric Layton directly. He was the animation director. I did the Nightmare Before Christmas. And all that animation, that we did and all our framing, was piped right through. So when we bring the background plates back, compositor would get the plates and then take our animation and, start bringing all this stuff together. You
said that on the Watchman movie that you predominantly did the mask, and then in Dinosaurs you did just apparently a ton.
Animation.
Yeah. What would you say the average for visual effects job is for you? Like, is there an average? Is it all over the place depending on what you do for a movie?
Average in terms of
time, like how much work and how much time you got to put into it for production to go out there? Because I think
probably
people,
a full-time job.
Yeah, I'll say I think people kind of take advantage of you in the sense that like they're like, oh, a movie's coming out, I want to go see it.
And you work so much, and as my background is a filmmaking actually, so I went to school for it. And I know what he's talking about. You spend so much time setting up a shot or working on a particular moment, and the finished product is like 5 seconds.
Yes. Good example of that, episode 2 of Star Wars. They came at me. I did a lot of things on Star Wars because I had a long history with ILM. And
did you have anything to do with the diner scene?
No.
Okay, there's episode 2. There's a diner scene that I just hate. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's like a 50s diner scene, and there's an alien grease cook guy that Obi-Wan talks to. I'm sorry. No. I love Star Wars. I'm sorry, but I'm glad that you.
I do have some funny stories about.
Do you?
About some
we will come back to that. Then sorry, I cut you off. I need to know from me.
But to answer the question, in terms of time, it really depends. At one point for Star Wars, they came and they just dumped a ton of reference photos. Well, they're usually digitally in a database and stuff. But you go to your when they do a shot kickoff, you go in there and everything's on the table and you're looking at where you're going, what you have to do, with everything. And they said, we need a battlefield for the, sequence. Here's all these reference photos that we took in the desert over here and over here and over here. So of all these, flat pictures, I need to make a 3D model of the battle arena for this whole thing.
Okay.
Star Wars, I worked on for about a year. Dinosaur was just over a year. Wow. Pirates of the Caribbean. That was about 8 months. But usually like the last 3 months of a big show, you're doing 16-hour days, 7 days a week. You get free massages. Your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is catered. They do laundry. They'll take your laundry, just bring your dirty laundry to work and stuff. And then they have a service that just, brings stuff.
They make sure the only thing you have to care about is work, basically.
We'll get that one day, guys.
I'm sure. Yeah, we're working up to that.
Although they do, they also do encourage, they have a full gym and everything at Disney and ILM and stuff. So they do encourage if you need to vent or take a break, it's like go to the gym, exercise, hit the showers and everything, and come back fresh. But yeah, it's all designed around to keep you cranking stuff out. And it's fun, but it takes a toll after a while. You usually end up with about a 2 or 3 month vacation after a show.
That's cool.
Okay, so I just looked at the list, and I'm seeing Hunger Games, Harry Potter. These movies that are kind of like not like really family friendly. Like you can take the entire family. And then I see Saw.
Yeah.
What did you do for Saw?
Well, they had 3D spinning blades. There was some, a lot of that stuff was there was like 10 shots I worked on for that particular one, where a lot of practical stuff and blood squirts and everything. So, but they obviously didn't want to bring a spinning blade.
This ain't your mom's Harry Potter, kids.
too close to an actor, so they would want to. We need a 3D blade, spinning. So you get stuff like that where they're holding sort of like the hilt of a saw, and then they need that on there.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, and then there's let's see, pathology was another.
Oh, you are in pathology also?
Weird one.
No, it's not on our list.
No,
that's we have like 1/3 of your work on here, basically. Yeah, so
yeah. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
But there's a lot of things too where it's like they need elements where it's just not practical to do live action. So it's like, okay, we're splitting this person open here, and can we make a piece of 3D geometry to go over this dummy or whatever and peel this, and so you'll get some odd things sometimes. And,
okay, well, that's a good segue. What is the weirdest thing you've ever had to do in visual effects? Because I know you got
3D wise or practical props.
Both either. Whatever.
Okay,
pick one of each.
Yeah.
Let me take the extremes. One of the early movies that I worked on, actually here in Michigan, was I was building a live action prop for this zombie movie. I think originally they called it Soul Stealer. It may have been released as Hellmaster. Quite a while ago.
Okay.
I'll just say that the production, the story was interesting. But anyway, this makeup guy called me up and he said, "We need this action prop. We need 2 syringes made, and they need 3 chambers each. I guess the zombie juice is in the center chamber, and what they wanted to do was be able to plunge these things into the back of a neck and extract blood from the victim out of the 2 chambers." And then when
push the zombie juice in with the center?
Yes.
Okay.
And then all 3 plunges go in, mix, and then they become the zombie and everything. So I had made 2 of them. One of them they wanted more of like a clear, like jewel type looking thing with clear tubes and this valve. And, the front piece was, faceted and cut. So I medical supply, went and got these heart catheter needles because originally they had these little tiny needles for drawing blood, and they didn't work. I mean, you're going through, prosthetics and everything. And so I got these heart catheter needles and built this thing. And then I had to build this Derringer slide device to go under the coat, because not only did they want to impale these people with it, they wanted it to...
like Wolverine out?
Yes, straight, just, react and have this thing shoot out into their hand and then have at it. So...
I sort of want to see
that. Sounds neat, not gonna lie.
It's interesting. And I do have a funny story in that production. So I made this thing. And when I was working on it, I had tested and everything. Everything's airtight. It really worked. You could kill somebody and all that stuff. So
for real,
yeah,
wow,
it was a serious thing. So on location, I was a little uncomfortable just handing it over to people, so
because you made a deadly weapon.
Yeah. So I said, well, what I need to do is be the one to operate this when the actor's, face doesn't need to be there and all that.
Okay.
So that was a trip, because they had this poor girl, all, like zombified, and then they had a safety plate, behind her neck, under all the, makeup prosthetics and stuff. And then I just had to take this thing and just jab it into her neck. And there was a blood bag and all that stuff. And it was the weird, I was a little scared, because even though there was a good sized plate and everything, you've got this person there and you're like plunging this thing into them.
And what this thing could do. You made it.
Yeah. So that was a little weird. It was fun after the fact when everybody was, safe and stuff. But even during making it, I remember I'd set it on a coffee table, and the needles were sticking out. I thought, okay, I need that over here. I was working on some other thing. They needed a posable dead person, so I was making a skeleton for that. Okay. And sure enough, I walked right by. It took 3 of the needles in the side of the knee. And they were like an 1/8 inch, wide, so they were pretty thick. So, so that was an interesting thing. But the funny story on location, I showed up one morning, and the makeup guy was like all giddy and excited. And he says, "Oh, today's gonna be great and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool." And there was good energy going on. And he said, guess what I've got for you today? I'm like, what? And he says, John Saxon was their main actor. He's a guy from way back, but very familiar face. And he goes, you get to play John Saxon today, and you get to be in the movie. And I'm like, all right, there's a warning flag right there. You're too excited, and okay, what's going on? He says, he has a great scene. He goes, it's the dramatic closing climax of this, of the movie, and he gets stabbed in the hand without the blood, because I guess if the zombie juice comes in without the blood, you melt and all it.
Okay.
And he says, so he gets
zombie logistics.
Yeah, zombie logistics. So he gets stabbed, and he starts his whole melting scene. He pulls his hand off, and I saw the like the bone and all that we're going to put on there. And he says, and then you incinerate. And he looks at me and he's smiling. I'm like, back up. What do you mean incinerate? He says, we're going to light you on fire. And I said, you're joking.
Wait, you work in visual effects, but now you're doing stuntman work?
Well, that's what I got.
That's how he started, right?
Yeah, this is the one extreme of like early in the career.
Okay.
And because I did action props and built model miniatures before.
Yeah.
So I run it by me. He goes, we're going to light you on fire. He goes, don't worry, but we got a fireproof suit and everything. He goes, we're going to get the, you got the John Saxon mask unit. I says, not happening. And he says, oh, come on. And he says, no, I'm going to pass on that one. I said, I'll help with some other stuff. So I ended up lighting the makeup guy on fire. And this was another really interesting experience because I spent all these hours. I'm not a makeup guy, but I, assisted with this part of it. And got him all ready, fireproofed him. They had the John Saxon mask on and all this stuff. And I was the one that leaned into the shot and lit him with a Bic lighter. And I kid you not, right in front of me, this human being just went up in flames. And, people standing by with, fire extinguishers and stuff. And I was more worried about, fire burns oxygen. Is he going to breathe? There's no air hose under all this, stuff. And it was a wild thing, lighting somebody on fire and then watching him go through his actions. And like the clock is ticking away. It's like somebody better put him out. And so he goes down. He's just smoldering with flames. And but
they got the shot, though, right?
They got the shot.
That's what's important.
And he didn't, die or anything like that, which was
that's important as well.
Which was great.
That would be bucket on our production.
And that was almost you. They almost wanted to light you on fire for that.
Yeah, and I wasn't about to have that happen.
Do you regret it? Do you wish that you would have been lit on fire? No, not at all.
I'm adventurous, but that was a bit much.
You enjoy having your eyebrows?
Yeah. So that was, that was a weird one.
And that was local, right?
Yeah, that was local.
I want to see if I get my hands on it now, just to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Is he called Hellraiser?
Try looking for Soul Stealer or Hellmaster.
Hellmaster. Because Hellraiser is with John Constantine. That's a DC comic.
Oh, okay.
Hellblazer. Sorry, Hellraiser is with the guy with the spikes out of his face.
Yeah,
the nails or whatever.
Yes.
So that was, that was a weird, weird thing early in the career.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you get asked to do anything like that now? Now that you're established in your career, are they like, hey, Michael, can we light you on fire today?
Haven't had any of those requests, but no, usually it's a lot of all digital stuff now that people want to do. But like back to the Saw type stuff, it's a lot of get requests for the digital prosthetics. I was asked to do a test one time for pulsing vampire veins on this girl to where they just wanted a very specific thing and they didn't think they could do it with the makeup prosthetics. So we go through and we, for this particular thing, photographed this, woman and got her cheek structure and everything, and actually had to build a 3D, cheek model, and then go ahead and then as she's moving through the scene, make sure it locks to her face, and then, within underneath that, then I'm creating the veins and everything, and then being able to split parts open. So that was interesting and fun.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, though. You're like, today I made vampire veins. I lit a guy on fire, and I made a deadly syringe.
We chopped another guy's heads off.
Yeah. How many heads did you chop off for Space Jam, on average?
Space Jam chopping heads off?
Yeah, no. So I see that's a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah,
Space Jam, I love
all
Space
these,
Jam.
and then you have Space Jam.
Yeah.
Space Jam was great, and actually that was my sort of break-in to the major movies.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And that was interesting. And anybody here from Michigan? Because I'm originally from Michigan. Anybody here trying to break into business? It's go for it and try it. And my little story with that is, I worked on a lot of local productions and everything, a couple of bad movies, and actually one of them was a soft porn.
Oh, really?
Which I built
CGI for something.
We'll ask you.
This is before the 3D stuff, but I actually built spaceships for it. Except the spaceships were.
Wait a second. I
was gonna say we should talk about this when the camera's off, but yeah, we can't just glaze over that.
Spaceships for soft porn.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, yeah, that absolutely happened.
All right then.
It was that was an interesting one. I even had like sort of a semi-stable job at the time because being young, it's like you do what you got to do
Absolutely.
to break into the business, And I had this call, and building spaceships and practical stuff was my forte. At the time. This is before 3D, so I'm kind of dating myself here a bit, but. Got the call and says, can you want to build some spaceships? And, this is what they're going to pay you per week. I'm like, oh my God, I'm building spaceships. They're going to pay me this. And, hell yeah. And how long is it going for? Well, the job is only like 2 months. And I thought, okay, well, I got a stable job, health insurance and everything. Do I quit that? Because they weren't going to give me any time off to go do this, and then be out of a job. And I thought, well, hell yeah, I'm going to quit the job and do this. So that was interesting. But
at what point did they tell you that it was a soft porn, though?
That was the interesting thing. I didn't. It was after I'd quit the stable job.
Of course, of course. By the way, Michael.
Right. And so that part was entertaining, but it's like, oh, whatever, spaceships. And so I had to make a couple of phallic shit.
No, I was going to say, what kind were they?
Yeah, and then, of course, they had, don't want to offend any females, but they had these tit ships they needed me to do.
Tit ships?
And one of them, they had a bra parachute, for this thing. And
they have a parachute?
A bra parachute.
Were they jumping out of a spaceship and then floating back down?
There was a scene where the spaceship ran into an asteroid field, and when I say asteroid field, I mean it literally. You have to see the movie, but it was an asteroid field, and they had to
I'm sorry.
deal with that. And you got to watch the movie. I don't want to get into that.
What's it called?
Should we say that on our show? Should we ask him later?
The title is called Flash Gordon Meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders.
Flash Gordon Meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders.
Here's
that's awesome.
But here's the interesting thing. It was a remake of an original that was a porn. And Dennis Muren, who is an Oscar holder from ILM, he worked on the first one. So, and actually just jump ahead a little bit, one of the things we did at ILM is we had a film group, and it was once a month, and we would watch all of our bad movies that we got started on. You had to have a credit in the movie, and they pick a film, and you get up there and you talk about it, and you tell your stories about it. They wanted to do this whole double thing of we'll get Dennis Muren, and we'll get Orlando, and he can talk about the first Flash Gordon, you can talk about the second one, but of course, ILM was, we can't do that sort of a thing. But, I had to make these ships and put all these little pop rivets, on all this stuff to, make it look sci-fi. And, cool. Put icicles on things.
I'm sure the ships looked awesome in the soft porn, though.
Yeah, the ships are cool. And the movie itself is entertaining.
Is it really?
It's entertaining.
I wonder if Dave from IT and the D has seen this, because a friend of ours from another podcast, locally, actually, a way bigger one than ours, he is a huge Flash Gordon fan. We actually just found this out about him at Midwest Media Expo last week, and if it has anything to do with Flash Gordon, I bet he knows at least somewhat about it. So Flash Gordon.
If not, we gotta get our hands on it.
Say right.
Yeah.
Giggity. Flash Gordon and what?
Flash Gordon Meets the Cosmic Cheerleaders. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Dave will let you know if it's good.
Right.
Penis-shaped ships.
Yeah.
And bra-shaped.
Yeah.
Parachutes. I can't even talk.
Entertaining movie, very funny. The other, actually, in terms of 3D odd experiences, I did work on South Park the feature.
Really?
I was a technical director.
South Park movie, bigger, better, and uncut.
Yep.
Nice. I love that movie.
Here was the first day working on that.
They're crazy over there.
Yeah. Paramount had rented a warehouse to do this. It was all done in 3D, even though it's flat art.
Maya, I heard they used, right?
Actually, it was Alias Power Animator.
Oh, okay.
When it first got, they probably use Maya now for the TV show.
Okay.
Because Maya has actually replaced Alias Power Animator. But they rented this warehouse. Our cubicles, it was pretty much open space, but our cubicles were made of like OSB wood with like corner brackets. It was all very low tech, but it was fun and cool. Everybody's pets were running around with parrots. People had pet parrots. They were flying all over the place. Dogs, cats. It was an insane environment.
Was that somebody's iguana?
Yeah, I didn't see any iguanas, but it wouldn't surprise me if in the back corners there was some weird things, exotic pets and so forth. But my first day, they gave me the script. And now as technical director, so I'm setting up like animation controls and like some fire. I did get the set Kenny on fire.
There we go.
Which was fun.
More fire.
But they
you killed Kenny. That's
I did kill Kenny.
He killed
you
Kenny.
bastard.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
And they gave me the script just to get familiar with the movie because I never watched the show, and I must say, even at that time, I didn't have an appreciation for it, and I didn't really watch it. It was like, okay.
Was this more of a job for you going in?
Yeah, it was a stupid amount of money, and I thought, well, all right, why not? I just finished Dinosaur, and let's do this for a bit. And so I get the script, and I'm reading, and I get to because I never knew, like I said, I never knew what the content was. So I get to the end of the first page, and I had this look on my face, and I'm like, "Wow, this is in the movie." Was my first thing. Yeah, didn't you ever see this show? And I'm like, no. I'm like, wow. I mean, when they say things, like donkey raping shit eater, and I'm like, whoa. So, but it was fun and interesting. They really encouraged us to add things to the shot. Like weird things.
So they let you be creative. They weren't as strict about like what the end product.
So
was.
what did you add?
The battlefield helicopter scene flying through. The first simplest thing was, the pilot flying by with his middle finger up. And at one point I had a guy in the, gunner door or whatever, mooning the camera. And, but some of the other things that were pretty graphic with, Saddam Hussein and the whole, Satan, type thing. And, but that was just an odd show. And I think it was more odd because I'd never, seen the TV series, but just reading this stuff and then just, having these characters say these, these things, I was like, wow, what a trip.
Did they have the crazy production schedule they have now? Was it because they put out a show every week? They write it and put it out and film it. And
it's interesting. I don't know what the production schedule is. I'm sure it is crazy for a TV show because I got to crank this stuff out.
Yeah.
It's easier to do now. That,
especially to stay topical and current.
Sped up. Yeah. But in terms of the movie, you have more time, obviously, but there's still all these interim deadlines. So it's like, we need the Kenny Dust sequence by Monday, or kind of a thing. So not there's pressure, but then there's not. You have, like I said, you have these interim deadlines because when you do a movie, you're finishing the movie in reels. Like Space Jam was 11 reels long, and we usually start with the money shots, the hero shots, because you spend more time on those, and you deliver things that way. So probably not as high, pressure as a TV show. Okay. But they all have their complications. But I sort of sidetracked off of Space Jam, but
that's fine. This has been very entertaining. But yes,
what was your favorite point on South Park? Like
finishing?
How many months was it?
I was only actually on the show for the last maybe 3.5, 4 months.
Okay.
They had been going for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was interesting that to hear the creators in the background doing voices and stuff like that. They'd come in for all doing re-voiceovers and just seeing our work and all that stuff like that. So that was interesting.
Nice, cool guys.
Yeah.
I kind of figured.
Yeah. It's been my experience that all the super really professional guys, they've all been really down to earth. And as long as you're not an idiot, then they treat you fine. Because there are some bad apples that get into the group and all that stuff.
Which is unfortunate. And we detracted from Space Jam. So
so Space
we'll close
Jam,
up the topic with Space Jam.
All right. Well, Space Jam, it's actually an encouraging story for people trying to get into 3D and movie stuff because, I'm originally from Michigan, like I said. And
you said this was your first kind of big break.
Yeah. And what was interesting to me is I'd done these bad movies locally, and I did a lot of design work, and at this point, I had already done many trips to Los Angeles, and again, this is dating me, but I was talking to this producer, and she's like, well, I don't have any work right now. She goes, but because you can design these things, I think, this is what she said, I think 3D is going to be big in movies someday.
Someday.
Yeah. And she goes, so you should learn 3D. So at that point, I was like, Lightwave, on the Amiga and all that stuff. So took her advice, went and did that, and I started taking the real models that I had built and then building them in 3D and just sending out demo tapes and stuff. And so I did a couple Hail Mary trips, and I like to call them, out to LA, where it's had enough of the day job, I'm packing my shit and I'm going. And so I went and knocking on doors, and so interview, and it was during SIGGRAPH, which happens once a year, where it's they're looking for talent.
Yeah.
And all that. I think they
have a local. They have actually a local chapter here that's run by one of my friends.
Okay. Well, it's changed quite a bit, at least from my experience. But anyway, I went to interview, and I'm sitting in this really posh hotel where they were doing interviews. Cine Site was the company. They were linked up with Warner Brothers to do this, and I'm looking around the room, and obviously you can see people from all over the world that are trying to get jobs in the movie industry. And at the time, to me, they all looked smarter than me, had at least outward appearance better portfolios. There's this guy from Detroit who's done this odd things. But along in my travels, I had actually was taught how to shoot motion control photography, not motion capture, but motion control, which is very sophisticated for visual effects photography and compositing. And I was actually trained by the people who invented it. For Star Wars, George Lucas, the original Star Wars. So that was a huge deal. And I'm sitting here in this interview, and I'm just like, I'm looking at my portfolio, and even though the work is good, it's not, probably what these guys are doing, because they're already into 3D and everything on a major way. And they were only looking for, I was told, like 9 people. After I'd gotten the job, they were only looking for 9 people. Over 750 people applied. I was one of those. And what was interesting was that my little weird hodgepodge of experiences, there was a lot. The person doing the interviewing could actually see that, this piece, and that's what got me in the door.
They were able just to pick out. They're like, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this, and you had all that.
They saw the potential in what you were doing already.
Yeah, and also too is motion control photography. You're programming this huge camera rig to do these shots. And in Space Jam, one of the things they needed to do was 3D camera moves that needed to lock with Michael Jordan. They needed to be able to put the tunes in there, and there was a lot of technical stuff that they see that I could do based on these other experiences. So that's what actually got me the job, and into the industry, in a major way. And it was cool. I got to do the 3D Michael Jordan. So I had his golf clothes on my desk, and I just signed him out. My brother, who's a basketball fan, said, take him. And I was like, no, I can't do that. But I remember the last day when I was finishing up, with his clothes, and I had everything in the computer. We had cyber scans of his face and all stuff. I was like, okay, I can't take these things, but I'm going to leave my mark. So I actually peeled up the inside of Jordan's shoe, the sole inside, and I signed my name, and I put the sole back.
That's funny.
That's cool.
And a lot. Oh man, there's so many stories.
There's a guy on eBay that bought those shoes. He's going into his den right now, and he's peeling up that heel. Holy shit!
Yeah, it was. And in finishing that production, they had Warner Brothers had the wrap party at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and they flew in comedians from Saturday Night Live. They had I was told they spent about $750,000 on the party, and I had a free room. All of the people that did the 3D, we had free rooms at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
It's a nice hotel.
It was a great time, and every show has had its own party, and you get your free crew gear and all that stuff. So
usually ours are at my house, and I make spaghetti. That's what we do.
Well,
one day, guys,
it's the spirit of it all.
$750,000 party. That's where we're at.
It's the spirit of it all that matters. And then that's the fun part.
Well, hey, later on today, I'm going to buy about $70 worth of pizza for everybody. So it's not to brag, but we got that going for us. Anything else about your origin story? That was your first job in the industry. How did you get to that point? Where'd you go to school?
Where'd you start?
How did you start?
I have one question first.
Yeah.
ILM. You start with ILM?
I get called from them. Hey, can you kind of come out? But
are they on the new Star Wars?
What's that?
Are they working on the new Star Wars?
There's things I can't talk about.
Chewie, we're home.
Right. There's lots of NDAs. My contracts with Disney and ILM are this thick, and you
guys are lucky. Yours is only a page.
They're pretty strict. Even after I'm off show, because I started working for those guys, back in 1999, and I continue to, I'll go back once in a while and do stuff. So I don't ever want to do anything that tarnishes.
No, absolutely.
Or get myself in legal trouble.
No, absolutely not.
Are you, or possibly in the future, are you ever going to touch the new Star Wars, do you think?
I'm going to say no at this point, only because of my commitments here.
What are you doing here now?
Right now I'm doing work for Team Detroit. They're an agency in Dearborn.
Marketing, right?
No, well, they're an advertising agency, so they have clients. Ford's one of their clients. Yeah. But I'm actually taking right now I'm working on taking some motion picture technology of what I'm doing and showing them how they can do new things and interesting things, not just from basic animation of okay, here's, instead of shooting real cereal and milk, you can do 3D stuff. It's more like actually I'm under NDA with those, so I got to be careful too. But
you're educating them basically.
Yeah,
on different avenues they can go with.
Yeah, coming up with different processes and things they can do to.
Why use a reel for it when you can just use a computer for it?
Well, I'll say this: I'm a fan of doing a hybrid.
Really
digital's great, but being somebody who used to build models and blow things up in the garage, there's still a lot of value to that. I think model miniatures, you get a different look.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'm a practical kind of guy. I like practicals. I like practicals because I don't know how to do digital, maybe, but it's just. I like the touch and feel of it.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I mean, also I sculpt clay and all that. So when I'm creating a character in 3D, it's fun, but it's at the same time it's like your hands aren't getting dirty. You're not you don't have your mitts on it and doing this stuff. But getting back to the origins of stuff, that I grew up liking movies, like a sci-fi geek.
You're in good company.
Yeah. And that's really the way it starts. So I watch these movies and I try and recreate this stuff, in the garage, and I almost burnt down the garage. Give me gunpowder and spaceships and explosives and
it's a fun Saturday.
That was my education, I never did go to college. In fact, at one point, and I'm not going to name the college, they're local. I had gone in there with my portfolio to date. And they literally said, you're not good enough to go to school here. And they're very snobby about it.
Really?
Wow. I know what you're talking about.
Can you write it down? I'm just curious.
I've heard a lot of stories about that school.
So
my school's better.
I basically had spent, just all my time just watching movies, making models, making props, making my own little visual effects experiments, and then just... sending out demo reels and stuff. And
so a lot of trial and error, basically, being self-taught.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a hard road, I'll say, but it was a fun one. I won't ever, don't ever want to change anything. In fact, one of the things that I wasn't going to mention it because I don't know when I'm going to get it finished, but I actually, through all this, I have so many stories and experiences that I started writing a book called Self-Help for Dreamers.
Ooh, I would read that. Where is it?
What's that?
Where is it?
It doesn't exist yet.
No, it's mainly written. I mean, I've got this much of paper just filled front and back.
Cool.
Starting from the very beginning, but it actually goes. It's not just here's what I think you need to do to break into this industry. Mm-hmm. It's also from just a life standpoint. It's like how you interpret. Responses from, because there are people, you get emotional about stuff.
Absolutely.
You got your dreams, people crush your dreams. You got, family who mean well on one hand, but it's like, the negativity and all this other stuff. It's like, how do you deal with that? Because usually a lot of those things and those setbacks cause people to give up. And I can tell you that in my pursuit, I've given up thousands of times. But I always got back and says, you know what? This is the only thing in my world that makes sense to me.
I know.
Yes, I can do data entry. Yes, I could probably go to school and do this. Do I want it? No, I'd hang myself. So I just, kept on. It's like, okay, well, what do I think I need to do next? And
it takes the gumption just to keep doing it, even though.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that feeling.
Yeah, and so I always say to anybody, don't just, dream, yes, but it's like you kind of got to use the carrot and the stick on yourself. Mm-hmm. I mean, think about the great things and how much it excites you, and then also think of the misery of having how many people are miserable in their jobs?
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, that as hard as that journey was, and it was about 11 years from when I really put the screws to it to Space Jam. There was the other odd movies in between, and there was some stuff, but I'll tell anybody the journey's worth it, man. I mean, I've got so many wonderful stories and experiences that you could never have anywhere else. And all that misery, worth it.
Well, just talking to you for the past 45 minutes or so, I think you can already tell that whatever you decide to put in that book is going to be some good reading, because you've had some great stories.
I will say this: it's the real deal. Mm-hmm. I talk about the times when I'm working at odd jobs. Even to the point, because you read these self-help books of you get these billionaires and millionaires. Oh, I did this and live this way. Well, let me hear about the garbage you had to go through.
Absolutely.
You don't hear that because, in my opinion, I think that somebody struggling trying to achieve something with their life, when they sit there and they read and they see the stories of what the person went through of their crap, then all of a sudden it's, because you compare yourself from, I want to be somebody like that, but this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's like a Grand Canyon leap. It's like you don't know how you're going to get from here to here. So what goes on in the journey between where you are and where you want to be? So a lot of the stories that I talk about are, okay, I had this day at this odd job. This was what I was doing at the time. And here's what happened and, all that. And then after this job, I went home, went in the basement, pulled out my tools and started working on the model.
Yeah.
And, and stuff like that. And there's, I even gift wrapped my resume one time because I was trying to get it to somebody to get work on Batman, building model miniatures. And of course, you have the gauntlets where it's like, yes, we received your thing, we put it in the file, we'll call you all that stuff. I wasn't in a union at the time, it was a union job. And I had so many people say, it's like, your model building work is clean, but this, that, and whatever. Plus I was in Michigan, I was in California.
Yeah.
So one time I actually gift wrapped my resume like a package. I knew who it had to get to. I figure, okay, they'll at least maybe unwrap like the main thing, but when they see this might be a more personal thing, they'll pass it on.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, that's what happened. And I got a phone call from the guy. Good job, I got it. So that part worked. And then the other thing is, one time I'd gotten some money, did a Hail Mary trip to Los Angeles, lived in a hotel for 30 days, had a rental car, and then I had a very limited amount of cash to, it's like my time was going to run out. And so when prospects, weren't panning out and all this stuff, I thought, nobody is going to call me in California for a job when I'm in Michigan. So at this point, I need to at least make them think that I'm here. So I, took my last bits of cash, and I've got an answering service for, like 3 months or 4 months. And had a Burbank, phone number exchange and all that. So, and I had a pager. So the idea was, if somebody in California called up, they call this number. I had a lady answering the phone and everything. Mr. Orlando's office, kind of a thing. And he just stepped out. Can I take a message and all that.
State.
Yeah. And it worked great.
I have done this, what he's talking about.
Until
I'm Lucas's assistant, and I'm actually Lucas talking on the phone.
Right.
I've done that. No, these are the tricks I've learned in the...
It's all the little things, and it worked great until one time, can you come by, tomorrow for, we got this job, and I'm like, actually, I'm on this meeting, I'm out of town right now, blah, blah, blah. So
that one too
fell apart. But, it's just stuff like that.
So the only thing I think professionally you can say that you really gave up on was giving up.
Yeah, ultimately.
I know
that's
that
good.
feeling.
You should use that for the tagline. Just saying.
I finished a documentary that I worked on for a year, and I just remember I never want to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And I took a year off almost. I did commercials here and there.
Yeah.
I probably worked 17 days out of the year for that year afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to touch film or anything.
Yeah.
And then I had a mentor that says, you're going to come back to this, and here I am.
Yeah.
And I just created my own thing again. If you could give us one piece of advice, we have this little ragtag group of people that put together videos for YouTube and an audience, and none of them I don't think are trained in this. I think they all sort of adopted this as a skill. You, even yourself, were trained in a different avenue.
We came to this in a different way. Yeah, this wasn't our point B.
No. And this wasn't mine either. I wanted to be directing Hollywood film, obviously.
Right, okay.
I like this more. It's more intimate. But as a group that's trying to grow to help me out here, Conrad, fill in my words.
Too awesome.
Yeah, too awesome. What kind of advice would you give us as a group? And there's a lot of groups out there that do videos and trying to make their own thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's animations or little short films.
Well, at Midwest Media Expo, we just had a web content panel where we talked to people who were looking to break into this app.
There's a lot of little groups such as our own that are out there trying to do this kind of stuff. What kind of advice would you give a ragtag group of us?
The real honest answer, and this is actually kind of coming from the book, is follow your heart and your passion. And people have heard this so many thousands of times, but it's like I can't stress it enough. The only thing I'll add to that is allow yourself to be guided. There's no formula for you. There's no formula for me. It's, there was no roadmap for me to get to where I'm at. It was like being in the weeds the whole time. And the only thing that gets you through, I mean, it's like this, you discover these breadcrumbs. And, it's like, okay, I have my day job. I come home, I'm in the basement, I'm making a spaceship and I'm photographing it. Big deal. Well, it was a big deal. As long as you're true to yourself, true to your passions, and stay the course, you will find, and this is the beautiful part about it, you will find your own way. And you will have your own story about how you got there. And your journey to that is part of the coolest. Even though if you can, when you're in the weeds, you're miserable, or you don't know what's next. But when you just forget about the negativity, don't worry about what you don't know, and just do what you love to do, things happen.
So the road to Space Jam was through Flesh Gordon, and you never knew that.
That and the Hellmaster, Soul Stealer, and photographing.
It was all these crazy little things that you never knew were going to add up to ILM or...
Yes, and that is the thing.
Star Wars.
It's real quick on that. I remember... because ILM is the company that I want. They're one of the reasons why I got into the business. And they first called me for the first remake of Star Wars. I turned them down, and here's why. Disney had hired me. That's the thing and Disney had already hired me for Dinosaur, and I had a sweet contract with those guys. And I remember saying, as a little borderline unprofessional as this was, I was like, sort of flipped into geek mode, and I actually said, I can't take this offer because Disney's giving me a great contract, but I will tell you this. You guys are the reason I got in this business in the first place. I would love to come up there and work on Star Wars. Are you kidding me? So I geeked out a little bit, but all that did was make them, want me even more.
And that's why you were on episode 2.
I feel...
And all the other films with those guys.
In that culture of movies, that's just everybody. They grew up with this thing they want to work with in the future.
Yeah. You find, and like I said, when, things happen... that really is a real deal. Some people call it synchronicity. Some people call it the law of attraction, whatever. And I'm very big into spiritual stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, things happening for a reason or whatever. But, there's been times like on one of my Hail Mary trips, I was like out of cash. And I remember it's like, I got to go back to Michigan, shamed, and go back to finding some other job that I hate having to do and all this other stuff. And I remember I got to the ticket counter. Well, actually, before I got to the ticket counter, I was sitting there because I already had my ticket. And I was just, feeling miserable. I was like, this really, maybe everybody else is right, And I thought, you know what, whatever. And I go up to the ticket counter. I says, do you have any first class tickets available? And, not that I could afford it. But she said, actually, there's been some cancellations. And, and I forget what I paid for my flight. It was like dirt cheap or whatever. And she goes, I could upgrade you for only $100. So I was like, wow, I've never flown first class before. So, okay, and I had the $100, so I give her the $100. Here's what's fun about that. I ended up sitting next to the president at the time of Evans and Sutherland, who was in charge of all their major 3D. They were a military contractor, and they were on the bleeding edge to that point of what was to be the future of some of the 3D stuff. Now, it did not give me a job because this guy was ready to retire and all this stuff, but it put me next to somebody that I normally would not have been next to. He looked at my portfolio. We talked a lot. He did put me in touch with some people in his company in Utah, and that, when it never went anywhere. But again, those are these conversations and things like, wow, there's a glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
It refills your cup.
Yes.
As an artist. Yes. You're just like, I'm empty. I gave everything.
Yeah.
And you're just empty, and then just like, there is a ray of light.
Yeah. Things like that happen. And that's been the coolest. I mean, I can really look back. And now I can, when I was writing the book, as I was actually tracing my steps, like, wow, had I not done that or thought like this, that wouldn't have happened. And that led to that. And this led to that. So looking back on that, it's like, wow.
It's cool when you can look back and kind of connect the dots. Like from point A to point B, it's very rarely ever a straight line.
Never.
And sometimes sometimes the point B that you're aiming at is not the point B that you're destined, I guess, to go to,
And it may not happen the way you think it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What is the next project you'd like to work on?
Next project I'd like to work on, in terms of 3D and movie stuff?
Anything. Like, as an artist, because you're an artist.
Yeah.
what's the next project you'd like to work on? It doesn't have to be 3D animation. It could be practically you could sculpt or paint, whatever.
Here's what I've learned. I don't want to know what's coming next.
Okay.
Because there was a point in time where I was like managing my career when I was out there, where it's like you get offers to work on movies and stuff. It's like, I think this movie's gonna be better. Now you get picky. And it's like, well, I think I want to work on this project, get more selective and stuff. And I've gotten to realize that, I'd done enough 3D, I've done enough movies to where even though stuff is still cool and everything, I like staying excited as an artist. I like doing new things. It's like kind of like steampunk. I discovered steampunk. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, which we're going to touch base on in a minute.
Okay. And so I'm in Michigan probably for good. Because of just some of my family circumstances here and responsibilities. But I would love to work on a horror film again back in Michigan.
Really?
Whether it's doing 3D stuff or, like making props or doing a hybrid of it.
You want to light someone on fire again. Don't even act like don't.
You know what he really wants? He's like, I really missed out on being lit on fire. I think I do.
You want to be lit on fire now.
I'll pass it down. But lighting somebody on fire was an interesting experience. But, and just see what comes your way. And really, that's sort of... nothing, as much as you think things change, nothing really changes. Like, I got into this point to where I don't really want to know what's coming next. I don't want to have it all figured out because the fun of discovery, and that's what it is now. It's more the fun of discovery, whereas even though I was discovering, like when I was getting started, that was more misery discovery. But what happens is you get this contrast of like, man, I don't know what's coming next, kind of a thing, and and you just relax and let it all go, and you continue to follow your passion, and things pop up. It's like, oh, I would never have thought of that, or things get connected, and so to answer your question, whatever's cool is what I like.
Whatever's cool.
Yeah,
I like that. Speaking of cool, how we know that you are a steampunker. You're a builder, crafter. I don't know.
And I believe that's how we met.
Yeah.
At one of the steampunk conventions.
I believe it was up in the Aether.
Yeah,
so it was a couple years ago.
I usually had. I didn't even know that it was so cohesive of a thing, and I didn't know that back then. I didn't know there was a term, steampunk. I remember I liked the movie Van Helsing, and I oil paint as well. And at the time, I was just trying to find a way to promote my oil painting, and somebody had seen some of my props and stuff. It's like, oh man, you kind of like one of those steampunk guys. I'm like, what the hell is that? And said, oh, it's this and this, and there's conventions and stuff. And somebody told me about it. And it was here's the synchronicity thing that I'm talking about is like, wow, okay, well, it sounds kind of cool. And I saw pictures like, yeah, that's something I'd like to be involved in. And again, looking for a way to promote my oil painting. But it turned into much more than that. And so I got on the internet. I saw Steampunk Conventions, Michigan. Sure enough,
ta-da!
3 weeks later was at World Steam Expo back in 2012.
Yes.
And I thought, wow. I said, there is something. It's this big. It's this cohesive. It's happening. It's happening here. Oh, in a few weeks. And so I had didn't have much of a costume back then, but I had done some steampunk stuff, and I put some things in the gallery and walked around. I was like, this is great, And so that's something I never would have expected, and that came about. And so started doing things of that. Got derailed with some things. I went out back to California for a couple of projects and stuff, and then other regular life stuff intervenes. But this year, probably starting with TeslaCons, I really want to get back into a little bit more strongly.
Awesome, and you actually brought some stuff too.
Yeah, I get asked a lot. People see some of my stuff, and and a lot of people who aren't like really into it, but they see this stuff like, oh my god, that's cool, and they. Curious on the how-tos and everything. So I brought some parts from something I'm making now, which I thought would be fun to like, whoever sees this, if they, want to get involved in this, how sort of like the creative process
You're
works.
in the right spot. We haven't told you where you're at yet. This is a big space.
I had only got a little glimpse of it when you'd mentioned it.
I will give you a tour after we wrap the show.
Lucas is a member.
All right, cool.
Oh, give him the website. Website.
i3detroit.com.
Lower third.
Right? Well, they're getting ready for PenguinCon next week. PenguinCon is an open source convention.
Okay.
It's not like any convention we go to. We usually go to, like, World Steam Expo is actually also funded by the same people that do Youmacon and Midwest Media Expo.
Okay.
It's the same guy. It is no more. World Steam. It became something else, actually. It became Up in the Aether, which became Steamtopia.
Okay.
Essentially, it's relative, I guess you could say.
Gotcha.
It's cousin.
People. Yeah, they're cousins or something like that. But this is, you can see a bunch of crazy stuff people are making.
Ebony behind us.
Costuming and whatever. They're all going to be in here probably a little bit later because they were here like last night. Some building
some big brain people doing really cool things.
Yeah.
See, that's like, environments like this. This is like the old ILM when we were up in San Rafael, because now it's all fancy and corporate. It's in the Presidio. That type of environment is what I sort of grew up in. It's like, give me the smell of Bondo and fiberglass. Not for, any other purposes, but just, getting your hands on materials and making things. It's like, and that's what I like about steampunk is the creative process. I have a passion for the creative process. Like, you see something, you start with this, you get an idea, and you start putting the stuff together. And, that's the fun part. So, like, back up at the old ILM, you could walk into the model shop and just see all this coolness happening. And, I miss that. I mean, at one point I was like, I'm going to get some industrial space to do this myself. But it's neat to see something like this getting set up. And
this has been around for a while.
Yeah,
6 or 7 years? I don't know.
Oh, wow. Okay. Having leave town and coming back.
I'll show you around here. It's pretty cool.
What's going on around locally. But, I'm always liking to be involved with things that are cool and
very cool.
No, it's a neat place. It really is.
Do you want to show us our stuff before we take
real fast?
Yeah. Actually, let me get some parts.
Do you want Will to hand it to you, or do you want to stay here? Can you reach it?
Let me grab what I can reach.
Okay.
Just don't let Amy touch them.
But
Amy may or may not have knocked over a frame right before we started filming. So
these glasses, I made the prescription.
I was about to say, I was looking at your glasses. The closer I looked at them, I was like, those are really cool.
Yeah, thanks. They're a bit beat up, and I'm going to be making some new pair. But I just.
You made this?
Well, the lanterns I didn't make. I'll get into that.
Oh, because I'm playing with it.
Yeah, the eyeglasses. It's like, how can I wear some steampunk stuff throughout regular day without like wearing my vampire hunting costume? And just having people call the police and says, we got a live one here. And
we have one of those.
So I thought, I'm tired of paying $600 for eyeglass frames, and they're boring and whatever. So I actually had the prescription lenses cut. And then made my own frame from them, all made out of brass and everything. I designed them. I did crack the lens because these things have been through a lot. So I'm getting ready to make about 5 new pairs. I have new designs. Some of them are wood and brass. Some are just, they hold the lenses, very differently. I've contemplated buying a 3D printer that does metal. Okay.
Not metal. No, I don't have one of those.
Okay.
I don't think
so. Establish, designs under my Orlando art and then, and market them or whatever. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, these are all homemade. I get a lot of comments.
I about to say, I wanted to comment on it, but I was like, I don't know if he made those himself. It looks like he did, but I don't want to be wrong.
Just tell me you put your TV in there.
This is for a computer monitor.
Oh, that's your computer monitor.
Really?
That's right. I forget you
having spent so many hours in front of a machine, which gets boring after a while. I wanted to have something to just contrast it. And I had built one before. This is probably the better one once it's finished. And what was interesting to me was that you're sitting there staring at all this like high-tech 3D stuff, wireframe, your brain's, getting the screws put to it. And, I need something to, sort of take that edge off. So I thought, well, let me make a steampunk monitor. People have done steampunk monitors before. But what I didn't anticipate was sitting down and working in front of one of them where you're looking at high tech, but like around you have all this old cool stuff. And it actually, and it's such, for me, it was such a different like psychological
contrast.
experience. Yeah. That I enjoy sitting in front of it again. So, this particular one starts with a picture frame, and it's already pre-measured out. It's actually for my monitor at work, so when people see
your monitor is that big.
Yeah,
what's his
one of them anyway.
You have 2.
I like to do 3.
You're a 3 guy.
Yeah.
I'm a 2 guy. One day I'll get 3.
You know what? If you're doing 3D and compositing, and you use Photoshop and all this other stuff, there are so many tools and palettes that you pull up that 3 really is ideal. So what this one is, this actually I got at a craft store. I saw the frame. I'm like, perfect. And where I started with it is, hardware store. These are like for drawer pull handles.
Okay.
This is actually going to be a keyboard light.
Neat.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
There's going to be, a switch here for that. Actually, I'll pull out some of the parts, but I like pirates. I love vampires.
What is this just to hang down?
This is actually
kind of a pretty, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little doodad. This actually made, this little piece here was separate, and I got the gold chain. I just, blasted some hot glue up there, and
cool.
For this little, little trinket bit. And now monitors or software, they have their screensavers and all this other stuff. This one has curtains. So,
so your screensaver is curtains.
Yeah, this one's going to have curtains. So let me pull out some parts.
Yeah.
It's going to have lanterns on it.
Lanterns? Oh, that's what these are for.
Yeah.
The lanterns probably go here, maybe?
So actually, if you guys, that's perfect. If you guys hold it up.
Okay.
There's going to be a box that gets built on, like for depth-wise. It's not just the frame doesn't go on it. There's actually, it's about, I'd say maybe 6 inches deep.
Okay.
And these are going to be the side air vents for the monitor that will go on here.
Oh, wow.
So the design, works well.
Awesome. This is too cool. This is a steam machine, folks. Well, not yet, but it will be.
Now, off the side over here,
you're going to have lantern hooks. That is craziness.
So that'll be coming off there on an angle. There's going to be light in here. Can't do real candles in the building because I'd start a fire.
Is this your work computer at your job?
We all know how you and fire mix.
What do your coworkers think of this?
The coworkers that know I'm in the steampunk love it. Nobody has seen what I'm about to do. So when this shows up, I imagine I'll get some looks. Okay. Even, like underneath, I'm going to have, I guess it's kind of funerary looking, but I'm into that stuff. So there'll be tassels.
That's
here.
Very cool.
Okay. And the black curtain material. Now, I don't know how to make curtains, so this is an interesting
you're actually going to put curtains, and it's not going to be a screensaver. You're going to actually have curtains on this.
So it's going to be this black cloth, but the way it's going to be like, I was actually researching curtains, and old theater curtains, there's a whole thing to their designs and how they, pull up or roll or whatever. So this one is going to be sort of like the, the loops, and there's going to be gold chains. So when you pull the chains, it's going to raise up like an old theater curtain.
Oh my goodness, that is awesome.
That is too cool.
There's going to be, now these holes here are going to be for switches. And gauges that light up.
Okay.
That's
cool.
This is a rough prototype, but essentially at the top up here, there's going to be 3 cylinders. They're glass, and they spin. There's like moving parts, and so these are like gauges for rendering and that kind of a thing. I mean,
so they'll be accurate with the readouts.
I think they're
going to say it's all. He said rendering. That's why I was running. I was wait a minute.
Theatrics.
I liked theatrics. I like to put a lot of movement and mechanical parts because again it's this contrast with computers. So there's going to be toggle switches on here that will actually. Turn on the lights, turn on the spinning things, turn on, the keyboard light. I start with some parts that you find, and actually I made the graphics go in here. And these will all be, light up, and then, you'll find things. I like going to the stores and just scavenge hunting, or even antique places. And this, I think, is for cake making or something, but
it's a cookie press.
Or cookie press, something like that. So, this is going to end up on there. And then this little thing is going to end up on here. It will go into this. This is going to be a hole drilled out in here. And all the mechanics are going to go up into here and all the lights. This is one of the cylinders that will be on top. It's going to be topped with, and this is actually Waterford crystal.
Oh, wow.
That I found at an antique place. They took a chandelier or whatever part, and I got this for like $3. And so I find parts like that, and then inside the cylinder, I still have to make all the components, but I'll start with something like a clock key. And I'm going to add things to it, and this is going to be attached to a motor that comes down inside of the box. So
spin?
Yeah, this one will spin. There'll be other stuff, in there and on top of it. but just something to add, motion and lights and stuff that just give it a whole new life and character.
Yeah.
I'm into detail.
That's essentially a paperclip holder, a small fish bowl, a cookie press, and an actual clock key.
Yeah.
And look what you're making with all that.
And then he made
wood spindles and things like that.
That's cool.
So that's what I really love about steampunk is just I like the look of it. It's old tech, but doing different things with it, and putting it with high tech stuff and just the contrast. I think is cool. It's just a lot of fun. So like creative wise.
I'm excited for the lamps. That's just going to be nuts.
I saw these, and you look at the older carriages and things, and they have these on there, and I saw these, and at first I just got them for for home, and had them hanging. It's like, okay, those are great. And then when I saw the frame, and I knew I was going to do another monitor. I'm like,
he's like, what would look really on my monitor? Lamps.
Yeah.
You got to send us a picture of the finished product once you're done. This is sweet.
This is actually going to be done probably in the next, even though it doesn't look like it, it's going to be done in the next 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've got a lot of other things, built for it already, at home. I just wanted to bring all that stuff. But, because I want to get to use it. I'm tired of just looking at a bright screen and all that.
Well, it's got to get the creative juices flowing when, you get to see this awesome creative prop, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll be curious to see what other people think of it at work, because no one's got any.
You're going to see a bunch of people making their own workspaces super awesome now, themed. So you're starting a trend. Good for you.
Could be.
Michael Orlando, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure talking.
Absolutely. It's crazy. The stuff.
This is awesome. We're gonna, after the show, give you a tour. He'll give you a tour because he's an actual member of I3 Detroit.
If you guys have any questions, you can also message me in my mailbox. I'll get to the right people. You know where that's at. Just go to therackshow.com.
I was about to say,
we never said that this time.
We didn't. Well, I was going to save it to the end.
Okay.
I was excited to talk about
go ahead.
all this cool stuff. But for Marco Orlando and Lucas and Conrad, thank you so much for watching Season 3, Episode 5 of The Rack Show, which hopefully you're watching on Voxby's YouTube channel. You can also check it out on Voxby.com as well as TheRackShow.com. Also on Instagram and Twitter, The Rack Show, all one word. Thank you so much for watching. We will talk to you next time.
Peace, guys.
Give a round of applause for Black Nerd Comedy, a.k.a. Andre Meadows.
Woo! That's me!
Never gonna not call you the incomparable John St. John when I introduce you, by the way.
And boom, that's where it took off right there with Duke 3D. And then the next game I did was Candyland.
I'm John Patrick Lowry, voice of the Sniper in Team Fortress 2.
And I'm his lovely wife.
Ellen McLean, voice of GLaDOS.
Yeah, there's water for you guys
red hot, better made red hot, do better made red hot.